Now, an interesting car for everyone today, because I've got slightly mixed emotions about it. So today we're in an X6M BMW. Now, the reason I've got mixed emotions about this car is because I've never really liked the looks of it, but that's all subjective. Everyone, is entitled to their own opinion on what looks good, what doesn't look good. I'm wearing a burgundy jacket. Lots of people might not like that, but I do. So to drive, this car is dynamically, I have no idea how BMW have managed to get a car as big, as heavy as this to drive like it does. It is absolutely mind-blowing. The car will do 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds. It has 617 horsepower and 750 newton meters of torque, 553 foot-pounds. It's like a rocket ship. It's so fast, and the fact that it weighs as much as it does, but will go that fast, and the way it goes around corners is alarming. I mean, it's got 21s on the front, 22s on the rear, 315 section rear tyres, obviously 4-wheel drive. Bloody hell. It is it is a big old bus, and it does feel big when you're hustling it. But as a sports utility vehicle, this thing is mind-blowing. It is absolutely mind-bendingly fast. This 8-speed ZF automatic gearbox, brilliant. To enter this 4.4 litre V8 that's under the bonnet is absolutely brilliant. The engine is fantastic. We all know this engine from the M5, and we know that it is strong. It's mega. It's so unbelievably fast for something that's 2.3 tons. It's alarming that there's even a car out there that can do this. I mean, it's just amazing. I know some of the noise is piped in through the stereo, but I don't really care about that because I think it sounds great anyway, so who cares? As everyone knows, I love to talk about the touch points in a car. Touch points in this car, lovely, thick, big steering wheel with all the M stitching. You've got the amazing little M badges here in red, which is super cool. It's the new generation of M steering wheel, or was actually very, very similar to on the M440i that I drove recently. Same paddles, same everything there. The amount of technology that's in this car as well is remarkable. Now, this is a £130,000 car, this car, so it is a lot of money. And, that's putting it in the realms of that RS6 Avant. It's putting it in the realms of, second-hand G-Wagons, Range Rover SVRs, and some change. We've got a lot of things can be bought for that sort of money. A diesel Range Rover and a sports car. I don't know what you'd do, but that's probably what I would do, because a utility vehicle for me is more utilitarian than, say, this car. But it cannot be sniffed at how unbelievable this vehicle is. I mean, it is mega fast. It has so much presence on the road. It is massive, mind you. It feels enormous. The steering doesn't have an enormous amount of feedback, similarly to the 440i that I drove recently. It feels quite big on the road because the steering is quite light. In sport, it gets a little bit heavier, but yeah, it's still great. The X6 badging all over this car, it says X6M Competition all over it. The badging is enormous. Like, it is proper chintzy stuff. But, each to their own. People like that sort of thing. The cool glowy lighting in here looks pretty wicked. I like all that. There's all of this sort of, hang on, you can do this.
Hold up, by Beyonce. Is that the full point? Yes.
I don't understand why anyone needs that. It's got all the gesturing that you can gesture at this and it will change for you. I mean, I don't know about anyone else, but that wasn't too difficult. But it's another thing to go wrong, isn't it? It's 12.5-inch screen on here. It's enormous. It's, E-Class Mercedes and things like that, all the Mercs of this day and age are all getting to the point where they've all got massive things. It's all touchscreen as well, which just adds to the button situation. There's so many buttons. I don't know, like, you can use it down here, you can use it up here, you can use the gesture control thing that I don't know how to work that. You'd have to read up, you'd have to get this car and you'd have to get the instruction manual out and you'd have to sit there for hours looking at it, seeing what everything does. The dashboard looks wicked. You've got the rev counter on the right hand side which dances and flashes when you get right up it, and you've got the speedo on the left hand side, and it tells you everything you need to know right there, right in front of you. The seats are lovely and comfortable. They look magnificent as well, and you've got the silly M badging and silly M stitching on the seat belts, which everyone loves a bit of that, don't they? One of the first cars recently that I've had to raise the seat. Normally I'll put the seat right down into its lowest position, and then I'll move the steering wheel down. In this car, I've had to raise the seat because the steering wheel wouldn't come down low enough. And to be fair, in actual fact, if I raise it any lower, I actually can't see out of the car at all. So it's actually really nice. The seats are, as I say, lovely. The materials in here, all of the leather on the doors, the ruching in here with the sort of perforated leather, really expensive. Looks great. The interior on this car, I have to say, I'm really impressed with. Everything about it. There's so many buttons in here. I haven't even had a chance to press all of them. It's absurd. There's buttons down here, there's buttons on here, there's buttons on the steering wheel, there's buttons down here, there's loads more touch buttons down here, there's buttons all over the doors. It's technologically, it is mental. Everything else in here, the rear seats aren't enormous. I got a friend who sat in the rear seats the other day. He's 6'2", I think, and his head touches the top. Not an enormous amount of room in the back. I would personally choose the X5M at that point, but that's just me because I have two big dogs, etc., etc. If you're not going to be using it for big 6'2" blokes, then fine. If you're just putting two little small people in there, then it would fit beautifully, and the boot is big enough for all of your things that you might need. The boot is not big enough for dogs. I wouldn't suggest. It might be big enough for your handbag dog, but not for a dog like a Labrador or something like that. There we go, a little bit of open road here. It sounds wicked, sounds excellent. It just feels so flat on the road. I mean, it's just remarkable how they do this. I'd love to get this. I know no one will take one on a track, but I would like to get one on a track just to see what it's like. But it's so impressive, but it does feel massive on these little B roads that I'm on today. It's just a really fast, really good car, but unfortunately I just don't like the look of it. That's I like the look of the front end, and I have no problem with the massive grills, no problem with those at all. I think they look wicked. There's something about the rear haunches for me that it's just not quite right for me. It just doesn't look quite right. It looks like they've taken a big 8 series and they've sort of stretched it in Photoshop, and I just don't think it works. It doesn't work for me anyway. It might work for other people, but dynamically and the way this thing goes is unbelievable. Now, another thing I would say, I hope you've got deep pockets, because this has been returning me about 11.6 miles to the gallon. I haven't been driving it particularly quickly. I haven't been trying to do anything that I shouldn't have been doing, but it does chew through fuel. I'll tell you that much for free. I mean, I think I've got 300 miles on a tank, and this is a massive, massive car. So, it is returning me 11.6. It says that it returns 13 to 18, urban 13, and then out on a motorway, it returns 18. But yeah, everything, it hasn't got the silly, chintzy little gear knob in this one. It's actually got a really nice leather one with the M badging on it. I like that a lot. Yeah, the whole thing, it's a really nice place to be. It's a really nice car to drive. Unfortunately, I just get out of it and go, ooh, no, it's not for me. But there we go. But if you do have a dog, or you do have something that you want to fit in the boot, maybe the X5M would be a better fit. I don't know. Driving it through a small village in the Cotswolds does feel ostentatious, I think would be the right word. It feels huge and like a big old bully. Thank you. And everybody looks at you going, wow, who bought one of those? Because it's a lot of money. But, it's a lot of performance. It's a lot of car. Yeah, it's very, very impressive.